Now, this is the second of a series of 4 videos, and all the links will be in description, where I'm going to be talking about an ultimate career guide for men to help you navigate in terms of what you want in your career, because many people are unhappy in their career. They're thinking about pivoting. You might be earlier on in your career and not sure what direction to go in. So this will also give you some ideas for a side hustle if you want to develop some other skills. So we're going to go through this diagram in a moment, but the first thing I want you to just focus on is where you're at in your life, because many people feel trapped, they feel pigeonholed. And what I want to tell you is that you have infinite choices, and you can see through this diagram, it says you're born, this is the start of the green line, and then you go through a life path and you take a particular path, you avoid all the black lines, which are alternative life paths. But then in the middle, you can see where you are today, right? And this means all the green lines are the infinite opportunities of your future, right? You can switch jobs, you can switch countries, you can switch relationships, whatever works for you, because in the future you have infinite opportunities. And to build on that, right, is when you're picking your career or your source of income, you need to think through it carefully, what you want to do. Now, this is a checklist, simple 4-point checklist. Firstly, you need to figure out if the money is worth the effort, right? Because for some people working in sales where they're going to have a high salary because it's a commission-based salary and they're comfortable with the effort put in with dealing with multiple sales calls that might not make any money, just to have a couple sales calls that do make money, they're comfortable with that effort level. Other people will find it too stressful because they're more of an introvert. They don't want to deal with all this type of constantly speaking with people and pushing a product. But then on the other hand, other people would like it. So just think about what type of job you're doing and if you're comfortable putting in the effort to earn that money. Don't just pick the career everyone else is doing. Everyone else is going into tech, so you should. That might not work out, as you can see from recent layoffs. The other thing is important to consider is self-employment opportunities. I think this is very key because at the end of the day, most men want to be their own boss. So even if you go into something like becoming a nurse, can you become a self-employed nurse? Can you become a nurse to more wealthy clients and offer home care, right? These are the type of things to consider. When you pick a job, you pick a lifestyle. They might have long hours. It might be social status based. It might be based on your ability to fit in and be popular in that office environment. And then the last thing is multiple choice elimination, which brings me on to the next part of this diagram, right? Essentially, there are 4 aspects of your career you can focus on, right? You can focus on the first thing here, which would be you like working in organizations that are based around governance, right? It could be the government itself. It could be working in a management type of role at a company that helps organize the structure and strategy of the company. So we'll come on to that in other videos. Then in my previous video, I covered STEM careers, where it's all about mental skills, technical skills. If that matches your personality type, the link to the other video will be in the description. And then you have body skills, where you're using your physical skills and working in the trades, which we'll cover in this video. And then lastly, you have other things, which are creative skills, which typically don't pay the most, but if you're really passionate about that, you might be comfortable making that sacrifice and then potentially having a larger payoff later. So let's go through the trades now, right? So typically when you work in the trades or any type of body related skills, physical skills, they tend to, in some cases, they can pay well. Some cases they can pay more than office jobs, but only if you know which ones are leading to real money and independence, right? And picking those high in demand skills based on where you are, right? And what you're interested in. You want to focus on profitable trades. You want to focus on planning your skills, upskilling yourself, and turning your skills into long-term job security, right? And these are the type of things I cover throughout my career coaching, which is tailor-made to you to build more power, pay and freedom dependent on your interest level, right? So if you are interested into the trades, there's definitely something I can help with, right? So link in description if you want to work with me directly to help you with that. So let's just say you're not so much a technical thinking person, you want to be more physical, you want to work with your hands like real men do, and you're focused on body skills, right? So naturally these things are more physical, less thinking involved, and it's good if you don't mind physical work. And also the only thing to caveat for, because every job has its positive and negative, sometimes these jobs are associated with being low status or low status man, even if you are earning quite a lot of money, as we'll see in these examples. And as long as you don't mind the impact to your lifestyle, sometimes you might have to work irregular hours and things like that. But it's good in the sense that you have less expensive qualifications to complete. It's not like you have to become a doctor who spends 7 years at university or doing training. You can essentially do a 1 or 2 year course and start working and making money. And then some options can be quite good for time freedom and a side hustle, right? An extra income. So let's go through this in a bit of detail. Now we're looking at skill trades, right? Do you want to be an electrician? You can make up to $90,000. These are all rough numbers depending on where you're based, of course. And this is skilled because it requires technical knowledge of electrical systems and physical tasks like installation and repairs. Now, of course, I'm working as a career coach, but when I look back on my career within the finance industry, if you're new to the channel, I've worked at these companies, Goldman, Morgan Stanley and HSBC, on the trading floor for over a decade, right? Now, if I had more free time, if I was going to build a skill on the side, actually I'd study to become an electrician on the weekend, because that would allow me to make some side income, build a different skill that wasn't based on the finance industry in case I needed to work more hours on a self-employment basis. I know other people who run successful podcasts, they have small communities online, they're making about a couple grand online, let's just say anywhere between 1 to 2K to 4 to 5K, and they run podcasts online. And how do they make money on the side to have some stability? They do food delivery, they do Uber Eats, they do Grubhub, things like that. So I know DoorDash, a lot of people would look down on that's low status jobs, but this guy, without naming names, they might have hundreds of thousands of listeners online, they've kind of popular, and they discuss it online that they make a side income doing some food delivery, right? And no one judges them for it. So this whole thing about having a side hustle, even if it's considered lower status, I don't think you should see that as a bad thing. And then other options here are becoming a car mechanic. Now, if you're a car mechanic, again, it's skilled and physical, hands-on repair. Maybe you can learn these skills and do a bit of work on that on the weekend while you have an office job, or work it full-time. A construction worker, of course, it's very physical. You're going to be working with lots of tools and materials and building tasks. And then the other thing is becoming a handyman or a landscaper, right? Focusing on garden work, doing basic fixes for people. And this is quite popular, particularly in London, where you have many people in any major city who are good at technical skills. They work office jobs, but they don't know how to do basic DIY, changing the fire alarm, fixing up a new shelf and assembling a new desk in their home office. So they hire someone to do it. And it's a lot of money you can make for very little work on the weekends. I know people who do that. And then the other thing is becoming a factory worker, right? Of course, that's not great. I would avoid that at all costs, but that's repetitive manual task, machinery operation, but it's good for short time periods if you're working on a side hustle, or you have an escape plan, or it's just something you need to do to make some money in the short term. Now, why am I mentioning all of these? First thing, these are skill trades. They could work for you depending on your interest level, but they're all things that could work for self-employment, and more importantly, they can also work, if you're familiar with the term, a Renaissance man. Now, there's a book called Early Retirement Extreme, and it talks about how you shouldn't just focus on having one skill. If you want to retire early, you should have multiple skills, so you don't have to hire anyone to do anything. Now, of course, we all have to hire some experts, but if you're good at repairing your car, you can do basic construction work around your house or wherever you live. Then you don't have to hire people or spend those costs. You can just do a lot of it yourself and save a lot of money in the process, or even do it for your neighbors and make some additional money, just a simple side income. Next thing is transportation, right? Lots of pilots typically make a lot of money, 80 to 200k. I've seen at the starting levels they might not make tons of money, but obviously you can work your way up. It's a skilled role. It requires specialized licenses and focus and physical stamina, working for long hours, having irregular work hours. It does have a life impact. Even if you're earning a lot of money, it could impact your life. You'll be in different time zones, your sleep schedule will be off, you might spend less time with family, so you have to think carefully about all these things. Next thing is becoming a delivery driver, right? If you want to become a truck driver, something that's very popular online, if you're familiar with men going their own way or MGTOW, things like that, right? Many of these guys, they tend to get a CDL, men who don't want to be part of mainstream society and deal with office politics. They complete a CDL, they become a truck driver, and they do delivery. It could be physical due to the long hours, spend a lot of time alone, but if that's your personality type, that could work. You're lifting a lot of packages, you're constantly moving, and again, given the life impact, just something worthwhile considering. If you have a family, if you want to spend time away from them and it doesn't bother you. But if you're a single guy, this could be a good way of making a lot of money and having your freedom. Also, you could be a mover, making 28 to 45k, right? Being highly physical, it involves heavy lifting, carrying furniture. But again, these are the type of things you could also do as a side hustle on the weekend while you focus on your main job, right? But you have maybe a friend who's doing a lot of real estate investment. You could help with that and make some money on the side as a mover. Then we've got emergency work. Now you've got firefighters who are making 45 to 80k. It's physical, high risk, involves strength, endurance, skilled response to dangerous situations, right? You've got paramedics who are skilled due to needing medical training and physical training from lifting patients, carrying gear and working in emergency. And again, these things have a life impact. Like the pilot, you have irregular schedules, you have long hours where you might not be doing a lot. Firefighters waiting at the fire station for any type of emergencies they need to attend. Paramedics doing the same thing. You're in life or death scenarios. So it really does depend on your personality type, right? And if it can be quite exciting and waiting for your next fire incident to attend. It depends what you want to do. But a lot of these things, as good as they can be, and I definitely recommend it if you're more someone focused on your physical skills. The main limitations is they are location dependent. They're not location independent. You can't become a digital nomad and live and work anywhere in the world unless you're willing to move in some cases to other locations, right? You can't move to a developing country and work as an electrician because you're not going to be making a lot of money. You can't work as a delivery driver in any country and get a decent salary. You have to be a developed country, right? And if you're a firefighter, of course, your location's fixed there. If you're a pilot, you have to change your whole life schedule to match with where you are, what time zones you are. And what I understand about pilots also is that sometimes they can have short notice that there's a flight and the pilot needs to step in and they need to be on standby so they can fly that plane, because sometimes other pilots get sick or there's other delays. So you have to be on standby and on call for a pilot or a firefighter or a paramedic. You have to think about those type of lifestyle impacts. So these are all good things to consider. I'll say feel free to pause the video if you want to have a deeper look at this, because there's no point being someone who's more physically orientated and then you're stuck in an office and you hate your life just staring at a screen just because it pays better than doing a more physical job. So if you want to work in another physical job that isn't mentioned here, of course, I haven't listed all of them, is to work in a gym, right? To become a personal trainer, a martial arts trainer. Some people don't like that because it doesn't pay well, but it's like if you're really passionate about it, you could do that and build a personal brand online as an expert in martial arts, for example. You can train people in group sessions on the weekend and make some money that way, right? There's so many different ways you can leverage things to make sure it works for you rather than just being the kind of guy who's just a very low-level employee who's not making a ton of money, right? You could become an electrician who's teaching other people to do basic electrical fixes in their house. So there's all types of opportunities for you rather than just restricting yourself and thinking, oh, I can only have one employer and do what they tell me. And the final thing is just, again, go through this. Think about right now, pause it if you want, and pause the video and think about where you are in your life, right? Is the money worth the effort? Do you need to start job hopping? Do you want to pivot your career to another area that I mentioned? What are the self-employment options if you're really getting sick and tired of having a boss or a girl boss you around, right? When you pick a job, you do pick a lifestyle. And I knew when I picked the finance industry, there was going to be a bit of a cutthroat environment, fake nice environment. I knew that going into it, right? Now, I personally wouldn't want to be a firefighter whilst putting my life at risk to save people I don't know or care about, right? And then you got multiple choice elimination. I knew, even though I had a deep interest in English literature and radio broadcasting, I knew that didn't pay so well. It was difficult to get opportunities there, and it's kind of left-wing bias, so it wasn't the best opportunity there. But now anyone can start up a podcast, right? Anyone can have a YouTube channel. So there's all sorts of different considerations there. How do you want this to work for you? So for example, like I say, you can do the trades as your main job, or you can do it also on the weekend, right? You can pick a particular skill to develop, which is a trade, and do it on the weekend as a self-employment side hustle. That's the good thing about the trades compared to some of the other career opportunities. So if you are interested in really changing around your situation, building more power, pay, and freedom in your career, and really considering all the options that are available to you based on where you are, what lifestyle goals you have, this is what I help. I help design your career, help you with lifestyle design too, so you really have the total package that you're looking for in your life, right? Because it's not just being aimed at, oh, what's the highest paying job in my country or location? That's not really going to make you fulfilled, and you might not be good at it and have a hard time focusing and struggling in that career. So all sorts of considerations to make, and I've worked with many clients. I'll be happy to help you. Link in the description if you want to work with me directly, and I'll see you in the next video.